Hey there, I'm Meteorologist Hannah Fink, and thank you so much for joining me for Next Weather. We're going to be talking about the hurricane hunters, who they are, the different vehicles they use, and then also how this correlates to hurricane season, which does start on June 1st. And then I'm also going to be talking about an event that's going to be happening here locally in Mobile, Alabama on May 5th. So we're going to jump right into it by talking about the story of the hurricane hunters, which began with a mix of curiosity, courage, and then a little bit of risk as well. So back in 1943, during World War II, two Army Corps pilots made what started as a simple bet, which involved whether or not you can fly through a hurricane and if that was even possible. Then on July 27th of that year, Joe Duckworth climbed into a small single-engine AT-6 Texan and did exactly that. He flew straight into the eye of a hurricane, then just to prove it wasn't luck, he turned around and did it again. At that time, meteorologists had a very limited way to study storms over the ocean. Most observations came from ships, and many storms went undetected until they were dangerously close to land. Duckworth's flight changed everything, and for the first time, scientists realized they could go directly into a storm and measure what was happening from the inside. That moment marked the beginning of airborne hurricane reconnaissance. By the following year, in 1944, the U.S. military formally established what would eventually become the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron. Early missions focused on tracking weather across the North Atlantic to support wartime operations, but it didn't take long for hurricane tracking to become a primary focus. Over the decades, the squadron moved around the world from New Hampshire to Florida to Bermuda, even overseas to England and Saudi Arabia, before eventually settling at Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi, where they are still based today. As technology advanced, so did the mission. Today, the hurricane hunters are made up of both the Air Force Reserve and civilian scientists, as well as pilots from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or referred to as NOAA. While they work together, their roles are slightly different. The Air Force crews are tasked with flying directly into storms when there is a threat to land, collecting real-time data that forecasters depend on. NOAA crews, on the other hand, not only support forecasting, but also conduct research to better understand how hurricanes form, intensify, and behave. Flying into a hurricane is exactly what it sounds like, and it is every bit as intense as you might imagine. These aircrafts don't go around storms, they go straight through them, penetrating the eye wall, which is the most dangerous part of the hurricane. Inside the eye wall, winds could exceed 100 miles per hour. Rain is blinding, and the aircraft is constantly being pushed up and down by powerful updrafts and downdrafts. Then suddenly, after all that chaos, the plane emerges into the eye, a calm, often eerily quiet space surrounded by towering walls of clouds, before turning around and heading back through the storm again. During these missions, the crews are constantly collecting data. One of the most important tools they use is called a dropwinson. It's a small instrument that is released from the aircraft and falls through the storm, transmitting information about pressure, temperature, humidity, and wind speed all the way down to the ocean surface. This gives meteorologists a vertical profile of the storm that simply cannot be captured any other way. NOAA's Lockheed WP-3D Orion aircraft often takes this a step further. These planes are essentially flying laboratories equipped with advanced radar systems that scan the storm both horizontally and vertically. This allows scientists to see how the internal structure of a hurricane in real time, including how the eye wall is organized and whether the storm is strengthening or weakening. They also carry specialized instruments like stepped frequency microwave radiometers, which can estimate wind speeds at the ocean surface, which is critical information for predicting storm surge. At the same time, NOAA operates a high-altitude jet known as the Gulfstream 4SP. Instead of flying through the storm, this aircraft flies above it and then around it as well, sometimes at altitudes near 45,000 feet. From that vantage point, it collects data on the larger atmospheric environment surrounding the hurricane. This often helps forecasters understand the steering current that determines where the storm will go, and which is just as important as knowing how strong it is. All of this data is transmitted in real time to the National Hurricane Center, where it is immediately incorporated into forecast models. And this is where the impact really hits home. Every improvement in track or intensity forecasting gives people more time to prepare, more confidence in evacuation decisions, and ultimately helps save lives. Along the Gulf Coast, where hurricanes are part of life, that information can make all the difference. What's surprising to many people is how small this operation actually is. The Air Force operates just 10 WC-130J aircrafts dedicated to this mission. NOAA operates 2 P-3 Orion aircrafts, effectively nicknamed Kermit and Miss Piggy, and 1 Gulfstream IV jet. Despite the small fleet, these aircrafts play an outsized role in hurricane forecasting. Crews can spend 8 to 10 hours on a single mission, flying repeatedly passing through a storm to capture changes over time. Becoming a hurricane hunter requires a unique combination of skill, training, and commitment. Many of the pilots are members of the Air Force Reserve or officers in the NOAA Corps, which is one of the nation's 8 uniformed services. Others are meteorologists, engineers, or technicians who specialize in operating the sophisticated equipment on board. Most have backgrounds in atmospheric science, aviation, or engineering, and all must be prepared to work in some of the most extreme weather conditions on the planet. And while all of this might sound distant or out of reach, here is why and where it becomes very real for us locally. You don't have to travel far or watch from a distance to see hurricane hunters in action. In fact, they're coming right here to our area as part of the 2026 Hurricane Awareness Tour. This spring, hurricane experts from NOAA and the U.S. Air Force will be visiting Gulf Coast communities to help raise awareness about hurricane risk and the importance of being prepared. One of those steps is right here in Mobile, giving you a rare opportunity to see where these incredible aircrafts, up close. Let's pull up the graphic just to give you an idea of what this looks like as well. To show you, this is what the National Weather Service has been promoting as well. So this event will take place at Mobile International Airport on Tuesday, May 5th from 1:30 to 4 in the afternoon and is completely free to attend. When you arrive, you'll have the chance to walk through the actual Hurricane Hunter aircraft, including the WC-130J flown by the Air Force and NOAA's WP-3D, Orion, and Gulfstream IV. You can meet the pilots and crews who fly these missions, talk with hurricane forecasters, and even connect with local National Weather Service meteorologists. Beyond the aircraft, there will be exhibits focused on safety and preparedness because at the end of the day, that's what all of this work is about. It's not just about flying into storms or collecting data. It's about making sure that when the time comes for the next hurricane that could threaten our area, you and your family know what to do and have a plan in place. For those of us living along the Gulf Coast, hurricanes are something we take very seriously every year. Events like this are our chance to go beyond the forecast and really understand the science, the people, and the effort that goes into keeping our communities safe. It's also a reminder that beyond every forecast cone and every advisory, there are real people flying into the storm, gathering the data that help protect millions of people every day during hurricane season. So if you are wanting to go to this event, it's great, it's free. One thing I will note is you have to be in line by 3:30 p.m. to be able to go into these aircrafts. It's a great event. We will be there with Fox 10 as well, getting some information, and then also talking to these amazing meteorologists that do so much for us during hurricane season. But that is all for what we have for Next Weather today. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.